Inside this video topic, we'll discuss a very interesting concept of this React application, and that is how to manage states of form input fields. What basically I mean, if I go back to browser, so as we know that inside this headless application, we have two form fields. Like here we have add post model and here we have edit post model. As we know that by the help of this add post model, by filling all these informations like post title, post category, content, featured media and select drop down the value of it, we can save all these data to WordPress by calling WordPress APIs. So before calling WordPress API or before save all this data to WordPress database, we want something a states management so that I can keep track of all the values of these form input fields. So what is the process to manage this form? What is the process to manage all the states of all these input fields? We'll discuss inside this very interesting video. Before going further, I only request you to please hit the like button to give us a thumbs up to this interesting course, and please do subscribe so that I will be creating such type of amazing and interesting courses for you. Next, I will go first into a project editor, and from these files, first I will open add post model.jsx file. Now this is the component file which is responsible to load this add new post model. So what basically we want, if I go first here, so inside this code we can see that this is our title section, category, content, featured image and status. And apart from these input fields, here we have our action buttons, that is cancel and submit. So first thing first, I want to make some state variables so that I can keep track of all these values over all these input fields. So what I will do, I will go here and let's first remove this editor content. So first, I will create our first state variable to keep track of the title value of this add new post model. So we can see that inside this model, here we have the input fields for title, category, content, featured image and status. So it means we want like each state variable for all these input fields. So first I'll create for this title. So I will go here, let's say const title, then here set title equals to use state. So initially, let's say that our title field will contain an empty value. Now next, I will copy this title value like the title state variable. Let's copy, go inside this title, and here inside this value, let's remove this double quotes, curly pairs, and this is title. Now this time, this is a state variable. And one more thing, we can see that along with this title state variable, here we have the method that is set title, which is going to use to update the value of this state variable. So where we can use this method? So before that, let's go and add one more attribute over this input field called title, that is on change. It means whenever if I try to change any value over this input field, so in that case, what will happen? So parenthesis, it means curly pairs. Inside curly pairs, parenthesis, it will return event object, and for the time being, if I go and log, let's say console.log and event, save these changes. So if I save, if I go and let's reload here, click on add post, and I think we have some error, that is editor content is not defined. And I think that here we have used editor content, but obviously we have removed from here. So what I will do, let's go and remove this variable and just pass an empty object. Save these changes. Let's click on add post. Now it is opening. So if I go and clear this console first, whenever if I try to input any value, now we can see that here we have a complete object, and this is our event object, what basically we have logged here. Now the concern is that why basically we have logged here. So if I go and open this object, we can see that inside this object, here we have property called target, and inside this property, look at here, here we have again, here we have property called value. So it means whenever if I try to change or if I try to input any value over these input fields, so to read the value, we have to go inside this event object, inside this target property and value property. Let's go to editor. Then here inside, in place of this console.log, I'll use set title, the function name of this state variable set title, and inside that event dot target dot value. Save these changes. So if I save, let's go and reload one more time. Click on this add post button, and here if I try to type anything, for example, let's say post 11, now you can see that successfully our state variable now updated and the value of it that is called post 11. So in the same way, if I go and create some more state variables after title, we want something for this category. So let's say category, and I will call it as set category. And initially, I want that this category should contain an empty value. Let's copy this state variable called category. Then I will go into this category drop down here inside this select element. Let's add value. So here we have category, and inside this on change event, let's pass our event object. Then I will go here. Let's say set category, and here it will be event dot target dot value. If I save these changes, let's go back to browser, click on add post, and if I select, for example, this category 2, now its value, if I go here, so category 2, the value is 2, so automatically this value is now set into this state variable. Now let's go and create for this content section. So here I'll create one more state variable, that is, let's say editor content, set editor content equals to use state. So either we can use a default statement, or for the time being I will put an empty value. Let's copy this editor content, the state variable, and in place of this data object, let's remove here, and this is editor content. Now the same process on change event. Now here we have event object as well as editor object. Now let's go inside this callback function, and here let's say const editor data equals to, this is our editor object, so I will copy editor dot get data. So by the help of this get data method, actually what we input inside our CK editor, all those data will get and store inside this variable. Now next, I will call our method called set editor content, and inside here simply pass editor data. Save these changes. Then I will go inside this our input file like for featured media image. So let's create const, it will be called featured image. It says set featured image, and I want that initially it will contain a null value. Let's copy this featured image. Then I will scroll here, go into this element. Let's add input type file. Right now, this is only containing a simplest input type file attribute. Then here, let's say value, featured media, on change, and here event object. Then I will go, let's say set featured image, and inside it here, let's say event object dot target dot values. Like values, it is going to contain array of values, so the first index will go and put inside this state variable. Save these changes. Now next we have to create some for status. So if I go, let's say const status, let's say set status, and use state, the initial value will be an empty value. Let's copy this status. Then I will go into our status drop down. Inside this select drop down, let's say value status on change event on change, and it will be, it's an event object. So here set status, and inside this parenthesis event object dot target dot, and it will be called values, not value, it's value. Save these changes. So here we have like the state variables for all these input fields like title, category, editor content, featured image, and for status drop down. So if I go into a form, let's reload, click on add post button, and also inside this console tab, here we have some error, that is invalid DOM property, that is class name. So I think that inside this add post model, here we are using class attribute, but it's a keyword. So let's control C to copy this class keyword, control H. So I want to replace this class keyword with this class name keyword. Click on this icon. Now successfully we have replaced. Save these changes. If I go and let's reload one more time, click on this add post, And again, we have some more errors, that is value prop on input should not be null. And in this case, consider using an empty string. So here, the error simply means that the value attribute what we set inside our input fields should not be null. As we know that here, inside this featured media, actually we set our null value. So automatically this null value actually we are using inside this value attribute of input type file. So what I will do, simply I will go and remove this attribute because we don't want here, let's on change. And okay, actually, here we have one more error. Instead of values, it will be files. So whenever if we select any file from this input file button, so during on change event, automatically this file will be placed into this state variable called featured image. So obviously, while submitting this form, actually we have to deal with these all state variables so that we can pass all these data to our APIs to save our data into our WordPress database. So successfully, once we save all these changes, let's go and reload one more time. Click on this Add Post button, and now we can see that we don't have any errors inside this console tab. Only we are getting all about this image not found error over this application, but we will fix it later. So we can see that all the console errors for this Add New Post model, now it is successfully fixed. Now let's work for this Edit model. So if I close, let's go and click over this edit button, and now we can see that here we have lots of errors over this model. So step by step we'll fix. Let's go back to project editor. I'll go and close this add post model, then I will open edit post model. So first error we have to remove, that is with the name called class and class name keyword. So here let's select this class keyword, Control C to copy, Control H, search and replace, click on this icon. Now successfully all we have removed. Save these changes. So if I go and let's reload, click on this edit button, and now we can see that our class and class name error has gone. But here we have some errors, that is all about over the state variables over all these input fields. So what I will do in the same way, first I will go and remove, let's say this default content. Here, let's say const for title, it will be title, set title, use state, and initially it is going to contain an empty value. Let's copy this title, then I will go into this title field. Here, in place of this static value, I'll use the state variable called title, and during on change, it means whenever if we change any value, simply by using this event object set title, and here it will be event dot target dot value. Then here let's create a state variable for content or category. So set category, initially it is also going to contain an empty value. So category, inside this select drop down, let's add attribute for category. Then here on change, and it will be event object set category event dot target dot value. Then we want for this editor content, so here let's say const, it will be editor content set editor content use state. It is also initially it will be empty. Let's copy this editor content, the state variable. So here, editor content, then here let's add on change event. It is return event object along with this editor object. Then here inside this arrow function, let's say const editor data equals to editor dot get data. And finally, let's say set editor content equals to editor data. Now next we have to create the state variable for this featured image. So I will go, and before that let's cut or remove this like the default image URL. So I will go and remove, it is empty. Now let's go and create our state variable for featured image. So const featured image, it will be set featured image, and here use state, let's say an empty value. So I will copy, let's say featured image, but actually we don't want here. only we have to link on change event. So let's say on change event, event object, and here set featured image. It's event dot target dot files and the first index value. Also, we can put some dummy links if we want to place inside this src attribute. So here I don't want, so leave it as blank here. Then we want some status. So here let's say const status set status use state empty value. Let's copy this state variable. Then I will go here over this status drop down. Let's say value status on change. Let's say event e dot or something set status first e dot target dot value. So successfully, here we have our all the state variables successfully we bind with this edit post model. If I save all these changes, let's verify one more time that if there is any error, if I go and reload, click on first on this add post, no errors, close here, click on this edit button, and now we can see that there is no error while opening this model. So successful. Now here we have the states management over by using these state variables over the form input fields of add post model and edit post model. Now, in the next video, we'll discuss the concept that how to handle this form submission so that all this data will be collected, and by calling WordPress API, we can send all this data to create a WordPress post. As we can see here that all these input fields what we have inside this add post model or edit post model is inside a form tag. So it means before calling our WordPress API, first we have to handle this form submission. So this whole concept we'll discuss inside our next video. Now let's meet to next amazing video. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.